Drivers who stop to let others go aren't being nice, they're making the road less safe for everyone. Drivers who have the right of way, but stop to let somebody else turn, or go through an intersection, aren't being nice to other drivers. They are driving unpredictably, which makes the road less safe for everyone else. If you want to be nice to the other drivers on the road, you should spend your effort on being predictable and following traffic laws so everyone else knows what you're doing. Those who want to be nice to other drivers should try as hard as they can to make the road safer. Stop asking me if we can switch seats on an airplane. You have the ability to purchase your seats together, even if you have to pay more, too bad. If you're with a child, make sure you book your seat next to each other, because if you ask me I'm going to be annoyed and you may get an annoyed reply and I don't want to hear, it's not that big of a deal. It's extreme annoying and people do that shit on legit every flight. Stop acting brand new. You go to concerts and ask people to switch seats? No, you fucking buy seats together. Edit. Glad I was able to piss off people. I feel as if Christmas came early for me. Happy holidays everyone, and stay in your fucking seat. Someone asked me to do this in first class and I had a window seat. Yeah. No. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. There are literally no reasons to choose an iPhone over an Android smartphone. iPhones are widely considered superior, even luxury, compared to Android smartphones, which are considered run-of-the-mill or just normal in most of the world, while where I live in the US iPhones are more popular. I am completely perplexed by this. For one, Apple has a monopoly on the App Store for all iOS devices, so once it decides to stop supporting your version, unless you can jailbreak it, against Apple's twos, you're pretty fed. In contrast, there are multiple app stores you can get on Androids by sideloading, a completely acceptable practice, like F-Droid, Aptoid, the Samsung Store, the Amazon Store, and the Proxy Aurora Store, in addition to Google's own Play Store. Not to mention some Android phone makers like Xiaomi make phones insanely easy to root. The ability to sideload therefore makes it a lot less damaging if Google stops supporting your phone. There are many apps you can 100% legally get only outside Google Play on Android, and several really nice ones, like Briar, you can't get on iOS at all. By contrast, the only app which comes to mind you can't get on Android but you can get on iOS is something called Raya, which seems to be little more than an app where technically limited celebrities can go to revel in how rich they are with each other. Also, there are devices which don't work with iPhones, like my Pine Time watch. Needless to say, the only devices which might not work with Androids are probably those overpriced Apple, but I repeat myself, computers and iPads. For that matter, if you're like me, and you want an entirely de-Googled phone, you can get them 100% legally because the basic Android OS is open source. I don't even have a Google account, yet I can still use Android. iOS is an absolute monopoly of Apple, so to have an iPhone, you absolutely need an Apple account. You can also customize Androids way more than iPhones, because of Apple's obsession with having a standardized, trademark look. I have the Kiss launcher on my Calyx OS phone because I find it more efficient and logical than scrolling around for app buttons. Finally, and most obviously, Android phones are just less expensive to buy and maintain. So there's literally no reason to use an iPhone, unless you're the person with the money to be so into conspicuous consumption you'd buy a knife with a blade of solid gold, even though gold is so soft you couldn't actually cut anything with it. I agree with your opinion, but the reasoning you have is irrelevant for the absolute majority of people. Most people don't need this level of customization and would never bother with rooting and sideloading a phone. Even as a tech geek who had rooted Androids out of curiosity before, now I would not do that because I like my warranty and my bank apps. One day I woke up and I didn't give a shit anymore. It was and still is a very freeing feeling. Edit. Didn't give a shit about what phone I had, to clarify. This post is like Linux enthusiasts explaining why people shouldn't use Windows or Mac OS. Some of the dumbest people I've met were doctors. There is a general understanding in society that becoming a doctor is prestigious and is one of the highest shows of intelligence. However, over the course of my lifetime I have encountered multiple mind-blowingly dumb people who are somehow highly qualified doctors. They excelled in learning from their textbooks in college, however a large number of these doctors seem to fail to carry this knowledge over to real-world application. If they are tested to think outside of what they read in a textbook, so many of them seem to immediately fold. Edit. To add to this, I guess what I'm getting at is two separate things. Firstly, I have come across doctors that seem to show complete lack of competence in the real world. Secondly, as a commenter put it, some go through school and then suck as doctors. They don't update their knowledge, give lazy prescriptions and do a bad job overall. Edit 2. Well, this post blew up lol. Another great point was made by multiple commenters. In a lot of cases the reality is the doctor may not necessarily be dumb but simply mind-blowingly ignorant and arrogant, which can be mistakenly perceived as stupidity. I work in an operating room, and I have colleagues who I'd allow to dissect brain tissue with full confidence that they are the right person for the job, who I wouldn't trust to make me a peanut butter and jam sandwich. I don't think it's rude to ask who the father is when a woman announces her pregnancy. Disclaimer. I'm a woman. Is it your business? No, sure, but you didn't magically get pregnant. Also, in my opinion, if you aren't in a committed relationship, the question kinda has to be asked. I'm not including people who were artificially inseminated, sperm donation or other forms of conception, although when it's the case from what I know, they announce it straight up. Lol, congratulations on posting an actual, unpopular opinion. These replies are hilarious. Say your husband. If you want to stir the pot. It depends on how you ask. So who's the dad? Unacceptable, rude, intrusive. Whose nut dripped on your butt? Polite, respectful, keeps the focus on the moment. No real need to ask. I'm usually the dad. You're welcome. Wednesday, the character, is extremely cringe. I have a lot of respect for the Addams Family franchise. I can understand why people jump to love the new series, especially teenagers who I think it's mainly catered to, and have fun with this character, but my own opinion is that it's very over the top and cringe. I get that is how this character is supposed to be, but I couldn't even get through the first episode just because this character says so many things that scream I'm not like other girls. On top of that, the promos for this show absolutely make my eyes roll to the back of my head. The dance sequence that recently gained popularity just again makes me cringe. It just is so in your face about being dark and edgy. I'm also watching girls that I went to high school with 10 years ago who made fun of the goths start dressing up as Wednesday and doing TikTok dances. People seem to love Jenna Ortega and that's great. I think she deserves the notability she's getting, and this is a Tim Burton production, but for some reason I just find it super cringe and I can't bring myself to jump on the Wednesday train. I think this opinion has to be unpopular given how people are currently worshipping the ground Jenna Ortega's Wednesday walks on. Edit. Oof, it's been 20 minutes and I've already seemed to have struck a nerve here. Edit again. Thank you for the gold. Some of you are very upset. I know it's a show mostly for teens, which I've stated, but I think it's fair to criticize when many people are obsessing over this character, many of which are my age or older. Some of y'all need to take a walk or something. To people saying, she's meant to be unlikable. I don't know. I mean, I loved Christina Ricci's Wednesday. That being said, I think it's the way she is written more than the acting. Also, making a deadpan, monotone character episodic is not easy.